Communication, the very word makes so many people tremble. The thought of standing in front of a group to share ideas, or walking into a crowded room at a party, or opening up honestly before friends or family creates such a sense of fear along with behavior that defies all sense for so many people. So I'm excited to introduce my first guest today, Renee Marino, who's an expert in communication. She's a former Hollywood and Broadway star turned professional communications coach. You may know her from her leading role in Jersey Boys, both on Broadway and in Clint Eastwood's major motion film. Renee says learning simple communication hacks will improve your mental health, your wellness, and facilitate your life. It'll facilitate your work and your relationships. Renee, I'm so honored to have you on the show with me today.
Hi, Dr. Gina. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what is it about communication that drives fear into so many people?
Communication is really putting yourself out there. And when we think of putting ourselves out there as human beings, it's scary because what's on the other side is unknown. And as human beings, we are not always comfortable with what we don't know to expect. Our brains are designed to look for what's wrong. Our brains are designed to help protect us and keep us safe. So naturally, when we're going to communicate, whether it's in a personal relationship of ours, or as you said, standing up in front of a room and presenting, our brain starts to go around and around and say, oh, what if you mess up? What if they think you sound stupid? What if? And that's natural. That's what our brains are intended to do.
So sometimes there's that brain block where you're thinking things through and then you lose track. But are there signs that a person may actually be communication phobic?
Yes. There are a few signs that someone may be communication phobic. And the first one is if you constantly avoid communication. If you're faced with an issue in a personal relationship or a work relationship, and you find yourself just avoiding any sort of conversation, avoiding any discussion beyond surface level things, that can be a sign that you're communication phobic. Also, if you have what I call keyboard confidence. Keyboard confidence is confidence that is only felt behind a screen of a digital device and behind a keyboard. But that same confidence is not felt when in person. For example, Dr. Jean, I'm sure you and our listeners can all agree that we've all been in a situation where we go on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and we see someone that we know on a fairly personal level post something that makes us go, oh, Am I sure that that's my friend who posted that? Because I know that they would never say that in person.
Where can we learn more about you?
You can learn more about me on my website, reneemarino.com. And I also have my book, Becoming a Master Communicator, which is available for pre-order right now. And you can just go to becomingamastercommunicator.com.
Well, thanks so much for being with me today. This is great. And like I said, could go on forever with this, but really appreciate you. It's hard to believe, but over 240 people die every day in the US from drug overdoses. And with the COVID epidemic, these numbers have surged. My next guest is Scott Silverman, a substance abuse expert, crisis coach with over 35 years of experience helping families and individuals navigate the challenges of addiction. His latest book, The Opioid Epidemic, was released in 2021 and is praised for being a much-needed societal wake-up call and an essential resource for those on the path to recovery. Thank you very much for coming on the show today to be with me.
Thank you very much for having me. It's such an important topic, and the only way we're going to reduce this stigma is to talk about it.
It really is. And you know, I deal with this every day in my practice where people are asking for drugs. They're asking for opioids. They call on the phone on a Friday. And, you know, we're not doing it anymore. But I realize how much of a crisis this really is. I want to hear your expert opinion on what the opioid crisis is all about.
Well, currently, I believe we're in a perfect storm. And you know, as a professional, your responsibility is to treat the patient. but the AMA and of course the CDC and the Surgeon General says, we don't want you writing prescriptions for OxyContin anymore for 90 days. So that's really slowed up. But the people that were addicted have found replacements. So we've got the people seeking replacements. And right now, the counterfeit medication is one of the biggest issues in our country because that's the stuff that people are putting fentanyl in. And fentanyl is, 100 times worse than morphine, stronger anyway. And when you take it, more than likely, you're not going to dose it correctly and you potentially could overdose and die. And that's what we're seeing that big number climbing to. And by the way, that number that you have has just switched in the last 30 days. The CDC just came out and said it's 100,000 people in the last year, which has now moved at 240 in just a year up to 275. And when you think about it, Doc, that's a plane crash. I mean, we would never tolerate this, the FAA, if we had a plane crash in this country every day for 2 days in a row. But for some reason, we're having a hard time dealing with this.
And with COVID-19, this is worsened dramatically, correct?
Oh, well, you put people that are already, suffering from some sort of behavioral health issue. People are struggling with substance use disorders. People are struggling with just dealing with daily life and catastrophic events and untreated trauma in an environment where people are not only losing jobs, but they're watching, what's happening in the world. And unfortunately, it can be very overwhelming, especially if you don't have the tools to process it.
And your book helps us to work through this, and especially in terms of helping other people?
The opioid epidemic, it is a book that is a guide, a GPS, stories of families who have suffered and lost loved ones. And it's a step-by-step guide to help individuals, find ways to deal with, intervene on, and help the loved ones in their life. They can email me at yourcrisiscoach.com, or they can actually call me or text me, 619-993-273. And I give out my number because I want people to call because I'm tired of going to funerals.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, and thanks for your great work. We have to take a short break, but there's so much more of Finding the Good Life to come, so stay with us.